Hello everyone and welcome back to Arctic Retro, and in today's episode it's gonna be about this machine, a Commodore Plus 4. So let's enjoy this Christmas demo on the Plus 4, and I think it's a beautiful machine, don't you? Alright, so this episode is gonna be about the Plus 4, as I said, and I think it actually was a bit of an underrated machine. It came from the line of computers that Commodore made, the 116 variants, and those have a different architecture than the Commodore 64 and the VIC-20. They have a TED chip that is responsible for all the graphics and the sound. However, it didn't sell very well, so it was quickly discontinued, which was a pity. I have made a couple of videos in the past with this machine, so you might want to check up those if you want to see more about this machine. However, in this video I'm gonna talk about the built-in software that comes with the Plus 4, and that's why it's actually called Plus 4, because it has 3+1 installed programs already in the ROM. This machine is compatible with the Commodore 16, as I made a video about recently, and also the Commodore 116, which is an even smaller machine with a rubber keyboard. Anyway, when you turn on the machine, you see that it states 3+1 on key F1. So if we press F1, it enters a sys command and press return, and it goes into this program here, which is a text editor, or you would call it a word processor. Much like the early word processors on PCs, like WordPerfect and those. This machine also has a much better and richer BASIC than the Commodore 64 and the VIC-20s. It has built-in commands on the F keys, for example, the directory command. The list of games for this machine is actually quite long. It has a lot of good games, and there is a community that actually makes games and ports games to this machine still. This is Load Runner, and it's from 2007. Anyway, to get a closer look at the built-in software on this machine, I'm actually going to move into the Windows emulator, and the Vice emulator can actually run Commodore Plus 4. So we're going to shift into that to get better picture quality. Alright, so here I am in the emulator. I have loaded the Plus 4, and we are ready to go through the built-in software. If you search online, you find both the user's manual and the built-in software manual. Those are two different manuals. The actual user manual doesn't mention the built-in software very much, but here's the integrated software manual. So I have gone through this, and now I'm gonna give you a little tour of what's possible. So these are the built-in programs in the Plus 4, and well, actually it is 3, but they refer to it as 4, but as you will see, there's only 3 actual programs. The first one is word processing, and the second one is a Spreadsheet, which is like calculations, and you probably know Excel from Microsoft. And the graphics is actually part of the Spreadsheet, but they counted it as one program. And that's why you see in the boot screen it says 3+1. And the last one is something called a file manager or a database. Alright, so I am now into the boot screen of the Plus 4, and we're gonna start the word processing, and that is on F1. So I'm not really sure how these built-in programs came about, if they were developed by Commodore themselves or they bought them from someone. So a word processor is what you probably already know, like Microsoft Word. You type text, and then you can do formatting and merging and things like that with the texts. I won't be going through all the details because that's simply too much, but This is gonna be a quick overview of how to use the program. So I'll just start by typing some text. So it supports both upper and lower case, like you normally have on modern computers. And when you press enter, you see that you get the carriage return character, this arrow. And the voice emulator actually supports pasting in text, which you have copied from outside the program. So this is a real long line, and yeah, you can see at some point there is a new line, or it wraps around to the second line on the screen. And you can of course move around in the document with the cursor keys. I want to divide this paragraph into two. And as you move the cursor around, you see that the line number and the character number is displayed on the bottom here. However, there is a limitation in this program, and that is you can have a maximum of 99 lines in the document. So now we are on the last line, and that is the largest document you can make. So if you want to write more, then you have to create a new document and continue there. All right, so we have made a little document, and I want to save this to disk. There is no menus here, so yeah, and Control S does not work. To give a command in this program, you press the Commodore key and C, Commodore plus C, and this shows a W, and you can enter a command. And the command for a save file is SF, and then enter, and you give it a name like letter. Yeah, and that took a while, but now it's saved, so we can clear all the content, the whole document, by issuing another command with Commodore C. CM is clear memory. Yes. So now that document is gone. To load in the file again, we can use another command. But first we can take a look at what's stored on the floppy disk by using the catalog command, CA. So here we see that the floppy is called +4, and it has one file called letter. And to load that file, we use the command load file and enter the name of the file. And there you have it, it's loaded in again. If you want to print the document, then you have the print command, and you can actually connect the voice emulator up to your printer in Windows if you want to. I'm not going to do that right now. Other commands that are worth mentioning is that you can insert lines and delete lines. For example, command DL deletes the line that you are on. And if you want to insert a new blank line, you can use the insert line command or IL. And then you can start typing on that line. When it comes to formatting within a document, there's no really visivig, or what you see is what you get in this program. You have to use formatting commands. For example, if I want to center the text on one line, I can use Control 9 to enter a formatting command. For example, center, and you end that with a semicolon, and then you press Control 0 to go out of the formatting command, and then you type the text. And of course you don't see that it gets centered, but when you print it, it will be centered. And you can do the same thing for setting margins and things like that. Then you go to the top of the document and you enter margin formatting commands. You can search within a document. If you have a large document and you want to find some text, you can use the search command, Commodore key plus C again, and SR, and type the text you want to find. Let's say I want to find Mary. And there it highlights the word which it found, and you can continue to find more words. And the cursor stays there. Likewise, it has a replace command as well. So if I want to find a word and replace all the occurrences of that word to another word, I can do that with the replace command, RE. I'm going to search for Christmas, and I'm going to replace that with jul, which is the Norwegian word for Christmas. Continue, replace, yes. And it was replaced. You can also merge in another document into the existing one. Now I have saved the previous document and made a new one, and now I want to merge in the other document into this, and for that you use the command merge file, MF, and it asks you for a file name. I save that as Mary. And now it loaded that document under the one that I had open. All right, that was it for the word processing. There are more advanced features than this, and several other commands and things you can do, but this was the overview. So I'm moving now over to the spreadsheet. So to use the spreadsheet, you still have to press F1 and enter that sys command, and then you go into the word processor, and from there you actually launch the spreadsheet by a command called TC to calculations, and you're now into an empty spreadsheet. And like in other spreadsheets like Excel, you are presented with a set of columns and rows that are numbered. So now the cursor is in column 1 and row 1, and you can move around with the cursor keys. So if I want to enter a number into that cell, I just enter it here. I enter 100. And then I can move down and enter 50 and so on. So a spreadsheet is used to calculate stuff and yeah, like budgets and things like that. And the power of it is that it does the calculations for you, like calculating the sum or percentage or median and things like that. And you can calculate between the different cells and rows. So you use the cursor keys up and down to move vertical, and F1 and F2 to move horizontal. So I'm going to enter a few other numbers here. And also here you have the ability to enter commands, and you use the Commodore plus C here as well. So now I'm in command mode, and I can, for example, go to a specific cell. I want to go to C2 and R8, so I'm gonna enter 8 semicolon 2, and then I can enter a number right there. And also in the spreadsheet you have some limitations. You can have a maximum of 50 rows and 17 columns. So if we move down here, we can see that it will stop on row 50. And then we can use the command go to again to go to 1, 1, which is the first cell. When you enter command mode with Commodore plus C, you have also the same commands as in the word processing, as clear memory. I'm not going to do that. And you have save file. I'm going to call this calc. And then I can clear memory and load the file back again. There it is. So the spreadsheet doesn't only support numbers, you can put text into the cells. So to do that, you use the Commodore key, Commodore plus T. And now you can see that you are in text mode and you can enter some text. Let's call this calculus. And you can see that that is now put into the first cell on row 1. And to go back into numeric entering, you press Commodore plus N for numeric. You can also copy cells from one cell to another. So let's say now I move down to this row 4 and I want to copy the value on row 2 column 1, I can type a command, copy, and I want to copy from 2 and column 1. So that copied that over to R4 column 1. A spreadsheet isn't very good if you can't use formulas, and of course this supports that, so I'm gonna move down to this cell here, and I'm gonna sum up 2 of the cells, so then we can go into formula mode with Commodore plus F. It says now formula here. So I wanna make a sum out of the 3 numbers here from C1. Then you just enter the positions so you want to calculate, and yeah, it's R2 and C1 and R3 and C1 and R4 and C1. So we enter 2 semicolon 1 plus 3 semicolon 1 plus 4 semicolon 1. This should sum up the 3 cells and make the sum into R6 C1. Yeah, sure enough, that worked. So now if we move back up in this cell with the number 40 and change it to 50, you would expect that the formula below in R6 would be recalculated, but it does not. So you actually need to enter command to recalculate all the formulas, and that command is auto. And now we see that the value in R6 was updated. So that's a little bit different than what you have in the modern spreadsheets today. An advanced feature of the word processing and the spreadsheet is that you can have both loaded at the same time at different halves of the screen. So if you enter the command HA, it now has the spreadsheet on the bottom half, and you can actually load the word processing on the top. So if you now enter the command TW to word processing, it actually loads that, and you can actually work on both at the same time. Not really multitasking, but yeah. And then you can move between them by using the commands. Now I want to go to the spreadsheet, TC. And now I'm back into the spreadsheet, and I can move up again to the word processing with the TW. And you can actually share data between the 2 programs. You can copy data from one to the other. So up until now, we only did a simple formula like this, where we use the plus operation between different cells, but you can of course use more advanced formulas, like if you want to sum up all the cells in one column without actually typing each cell and tie them together with a plus sign. You can go into formula and then use the sum function, and then you enter sum. And we want the sum from R2 and C1 to 6, column 1, then hit enter. Yeah, and it summed it up there, but you get the point. This is a sum, and you have other functions you can use as well. So you can see there's a lot of different things you can do here, and you can even change the colors of the screen. So if I enter command color 3, it will change the background color, and yeah, it will also change the text color to a suitable contrasting color. So if I want to change the background color back to black, I can change that to color 0, and yeah, now it changes also the text color to a suitable color. All right, I think that wraps it up for the spreadsheet. There's a lot of more operations you can use in formulas, and there's also a lot more commands for deleting rows, inserting rows and columns, and many things you expect in a modern spreadsheet. All right, next I'm gonna talk about the graphics, which is the +1 in the 3+1. So that's also inside the spreadsheet application. So I have cleared the memory now, and I'm gonna start entering some numbers. So let's say these numbers are some values on some occasion that happened over time, and I want to see a graph out of that. And to do that, you enter a command with the Commodore plus C and the graph command, gr. And now it will draw, or so I thought. So I actually expected that the graph would be drawn, but it actually turns out that graphs are only created for one particular row. So I need to enter the numbers, just a bunch of random numbers in the different columns on row 1. And now if the cursor is in row 1, we can enter the command again, graph, gr. And it actually makes a graph out of that data. It's not a graphical graph, it's just made out of characters. So I'm not really impressed about that, but that's how it is. So you can actually copy that graph over to the word processing document. So if I type the command map and then show the graph again, press return, and if I now go into the word processing, the graph should be copied into there, and there it is. And then you can actually modify it and add some y-axis scales if you want, or yeah, enter some text and print it. Very powerful. Where is the 3D bar graphs then? So that was actually it for the graphing, not much to it. I was a little bit disappointed when I found out that that was it. So I'm gonna reset again, and now we're gonna take a look at the database program. To go into the database, or file manager as it's called, again you press F1 and enter, and you go into the word processor, and then you enter the command tf to file manager. So now we are in the file manager, and it wants us to install a data disk and type tf or new tf. So I'm gonna type new tf, and I'm gonna enter a file name, call it records. And it can have a maximum of 17 fields and a maximum of 999 records. So yeah, let's say we want to have 04 fields, and the first field name is yeah, first name, second is last, oh, the length, yeah, you have to enter the length of each field. So let's say 10 is the maximum length of first name. Field name 2 is last name, and it's gonna have a little bit more, 20. Then we have address, and it's gonna be yeah, 38. That's not much. That's the maximum field length. Field 4 is city, 20. So now we are ready to make a database disk and format it. The database is now created, and it's called records. And now we are into the program of the file manager and can start recording data. If you now enter the tf command, it will show you how many records you have and which record you are on. So now I'm gonna enter the first record, and to do that you use the record command, rc, and a number which is the record number, rc1 and a semicolon. So now it displays the first name, and we can start entering. Let's enter J, and then you hit enter and you move to the last name, Olsen, and the address is Christmas Road 1, and the city is Bodø. And we don't have the Norwegian letters here, so I have to use the O. If you need to correct a mistake, you can use the cursor key to move up and down between the fields. And when you are done with the record, you use Commodore plus C to enter the command UD, update data, I guess. And that is now stored in record number 1. So if we want to enter another record, RC2, we can just type something here. Command UD. So it's a little bit tedious and not very intuitive. And then if we want to edit the record number 1 that we added before, we can enter RC1 again and it should load. Let's say we want to change the address to Oslo. Instead of having to type the number of the record you want to edit, you can also just use the next record command, NR. So now it's in record number 2, and we can type next record again. And now it's in record number 3. So I think I did a mistake when I made the records. The fields, I can only put 1 character in the first name. I probably typed a mistake there. So yeah, let's just put some garbage in. If you just want to take a look at the record without editing it, you can use the review RV1 for record 1. And it will show that record on screen. And it will load each record that you have and show them in order. Now I am on record 4, but I want to search for a record that has Olsen as first name. So I'm gonna use the SR search command and type Olsen. And it now searches through the records and it found it. So what can you actually do with this data? Well, you can go into the word processor, for example, and if you enter TW to Word, then you are in the word processor, and here you can make a document with the data you have in your database. So if I just enter header, list of record, and then I want to insert a mailing list from the records I have in my database. And to do that, you have to enter this formatting mode, which is Control 9, and then you enter TF semicolon, colon RC semicolon, and go back to editing. And now you can start enter what fields you actually want to show in this document. So again, we have to enter formatting mode. And now we need to enter each record and field that we want to show. So that will be TTL1 semicolon, FLD1 semicolon, FLD2 semicolon, and then TTL2 semicolon, FLD1 semicolon, FLD2 semicolon. So this is really not the best user experience in a program, but anyway, that was what they had. And you also need to specify the end of file command like this. So you can't actually show the real data into the document, but when you print this, it will actually print the data from the database. Alright, so that was it for the file manager part, and that was the last program of the 4. And yeah, I just wanted to see the directory after I have made that database disk, but as you can see, there are no files. It's just a data disk stored directly as, I guess, sequential data on the disk. So was this any useful at all? I don't know. I think this was Commodore's attempt to come into the business market back in the day, or home business market. I'm not really sure if they succeeded. I guess not if you look back at the history. So, but anyway, it was fun to explore the possibilities. Okay, so that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hope to see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to my Patreons. Bye bye.